Hey, it's Ashley. We were a little bit late this week on our Tuesday talks with Ashley and Angelo, and so now I'm just waiting for Angelo to hop on, and then we will get started with discussing all the updates in the real estate world. Let's see. It always takes us a little bit to get started with this, so give us a second. And I'm waiting for Angela to hop on. And then we will get started on our discussion for today. Hey, Carrie. I am waiting for my man Angelo to get on, and we will go from there. Oh, I see a request from somebody else to join, but he is not who I'm looking for. Okay, here we go.
Hello.
We did it.
We made it again. Well, I was logged for some reason. I thought I was logged into my CLT mortgage guy.
I could barely hear you.
I thought I was logged into my. Hold on. Is that any better?
Kinda. I mean, I still it's a little bit low.
Is it a little low? Maybe I should just get it a little bit closer. Maybe not. Is that at all any better or no? I mean,
not really.
Really?
You always have some technical difficulties.
I don't know what I could do different because I'm legit right up on the phone. Hold on.
Is anything covering up your microphone?
Yeah, how about now?
That's a little bit better.
Okay. All right. So what up? What is going on?
Sure. Oh, just over here scanning through a permit database for Gaston County, looking for a permit for a house that we're under contract on because somebody might have tried to pull the wool over my eyes.
Oh, wow. You know what we call that in the lending world is an unpermitted addition. And yeah, we can talk about that today. That's interesting. It's few and far between, but I've seen it.
What? Okay, that's good. I think we should take this. What do you do when that happens?
So if the appraiser, and thanks everybody for joining. Thank you. If the appraiser does his measurements and they see something is off from the tax records, or if they can see that there's something done to it, but it's not, I'm saying they can't find any record of it, they're going to notate that on the appraisal. Okay. And once they notate that on the appraisal, it's basically going to be like a condition saying, okay, what is this? We need to see the permits for this house on public record says it's 1,400 square feet, but I'm measuring 2,200 square feet. Who did the,
what's the deal?
Who did the renovation? What's the deal? So usually people have the permits and they do it correctly, but I have seen a few cases where they didn't. They just got their cousin or whatever to do the addition, didn't get the permit, wasn't up to code. And so a lender's not going to fund a deal that's on a home that's not up to code because they could be liable.
That's interesting. And it's not just for additional square footage. I'm finding for this house, for example, there was a fire in the house. The house was built in 1940.
Oh, wow.
And there was a fire, I think kind of recently. I don't know when exactly the fire was. And these owners have gutted and remodeled it, and it's beautiful. All new HVAC, all new electrical, blah, blah, blah. But I can't find any permits.
Did they basically, did they build around it? Did they do anything what was different than the structure that was there prior to their renovations? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be even going down this rabbit hole except for during the inspection, the inspector said that like a lot of the beams in the attic are charred. Which, you know, I mean,
that makes you raise an eyebrow.
yeah, I was like, oh, I mean, what?
That is also should show you how important it is to have an inspection done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have caught that obviously because it's beautiful. Everything looks like perfect from the outside, right. But so I get this inspection report. I immediately call the agent, the listing agent, and I'm like, yo, I mean, there was a fire and like, is the roof gonna fall? Like, because like a lot of the beams are charred and you can see the shingles through the attic. And I'm just like, what are we doing? And so I was like, send me documentation on repairs that were made. If you're claiming repairs were done and the city has signed off on all the permitting and all that stuff, let me see it.
Right.
So then he sends me, this email and it's like on a Word document from a contractor named, I don't know, his name is Bubba or something. And it has his like licensing number. And I did look up his licensing number. This is a legit contractor, but it just says all repairs have been completed up to, you know, by code and signed off by the city. But that's all it says. And I was like, what? Am I taking crazy pills?
Right. That's, you know, you hear something new every day in this business. So I haven't run across that per se, but that's interesting. I wonder. Yeah, me as a buyer and you being the agent, I would want to do more digging. Like, all right, yeah. How much did you have to rebuild? Did you just put some, you know, pig on a lipstick on a pig and, you know, call it a day? You know, that's something. And that house is, you said 1940?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's an old house.
Yeah, it's old.
So you want to make sure when stuff's done that it's done correctly, for sure.
And it just, you know, it just makes me, it's just aggravating as an agent because don't claim that you've done stuff by the books when you haven't. Because,
right.
I mean, I would like to think that other agents would do the digging like I'm doing for their buyers. But, right. I mean, Gaston County has a really, at least from the way I know how to do it, a really kind of wonky system to find permits. So I'm just digging back through records.
Right.
To find that address to see if any permits have been pulled on that property ever.
Right. And how long, so I guess how long have they owned the property? The previous, for the people?
20 years. And they had tenants in it before.
Oh. That's interesting.
I think it's going to all end up okay, but here's the deal. Like, you have to be honest about things when you're selling a house. You have to, if you got permits pulled, perfect. Like, be prepared to share those permits or whatever with the buying party.
Right, for sure. I mean, do that on the front side.
Yeah.
Not so it's found at the end, and then you have to like raise questions. You got to find the documentation.
Yeah.
Do your homework on the get-go. I mean, if you're an agent selling, I 1000% have all that listed. So people can know.
It's just,
And I'm sure this is delaying the process.
Oh yeah.
So.
It's just aggravating, and I'm like, yo, if you got it, let's do it. If you don't, okay, well then. That's another issue, but what do you have so that we can move forward with this client? And I'll address maybe you misrepresenting after the fact. I just want to know what you got so we can move forward with my client.
Right.
It's a fine line, and ethics are a huge thing, and I just have no patience for people that are not ethical.
Right. Yeah. Due diligence. You're doing your due diligence. That's one thing that when I'm work with you, I love working with you because you do that homework on the front end. You're looking out for your buyers.
Thanks.
And if you're selling a home, you would be straight up, because when you helped me sell ours, and you were just like, hey, just want to let you know, this is needed, this is needed. Of course, I didn't want to hear that.
Of course.
I'm saying, but you were real with me about that, and you were, I think it was 99% of the things you were spot on.
Yeah.
Probably even 100%. But, so it's, so I appreciate you. That's all.
Thanks. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
So what's going on with you? What do you got going on? What are you seeing?
Well, man, I've been out of the office all morning, but I saw some report came out today. The rates, I think, maybe took a little bit of an uptick this.
There was an uptick?
Yeah. So I need to get on that once we're off of this call. But we were going to, what were we talking about prior to the call?
Like the stats for August?
Oh, yeah.
Or July, rather?
Yeah. About home sales. And then it was something about, I forget. I think it was something to do with home sales. Appraisals. Is it appraisals? Home sales? God, I thought we said something. Maybe not.
I don't know. I've been known to space, but the stats did come out for July from the MLS.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, it's all what we all thought, right? The market's hot, the inventory's low, there's a pent-up buyer demand. So you have a pent-up buyer demand coupled with low interest rates, which,
right, that
is creating some massive activity in the real estate sector. And as long as rates are low, and inventory starts to increase, which they're saying that that's starting to happen, that this is a sustainable market. So everyone is always like, this isn't sustainable and the market's at the peak and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, we don't know. We don't know. This is nothing like anything we've ever seen.
Correct.
Where there's a demand, there's a need.
Yeah, for sure. You just reminded me about what we were going to just touch on.
Yeah.
About buying power. And
yes.
In 2018, I did a Friday Facts on this. In 2018, in August of 18, the average 30-year fix was like 4.52%. So I just kind of plugged in some numbers. I plugged in 2018 stats. I did the average median sales price in Charlotte for today. I put that in 2018 interest rates versus August 2020 interest rates. And the payment difference was something like $260 just in payment from your 4.5 rate to your like high 2s rate.
So that's $260 lower payment a month.
Correct. Or you could switch that around, and so that's an additional $260 a month you have in buying power, which is equivalent to like $32,000 in sales price. So yeah, if you're in the market to buy, this is the time to buy, because you can get more house with a cheaper payment.
Absolutely. And that's so funny, because we bought our house in 2018, and I'm just like, it's just so crazy because, like, I was already, of course, pushing the envelope on what we could. He's like, oh, stay under this price. And I'm like, oh, you think so? But I was able to do it.
Yeah, nice. Well, because every time I maybe shoot myself in the foot here, but I mean, it's not that 4.5 is a bad rate. At that time, I mean, that's still a very low rate, historically speaking. But if you can get a rate in the 2s, it's cheap money.
Has it ever been this low?
I have not. I mean, I had to buy a couple of years ago when I refinanced my Rossmore property. I had to pay a good amount of money to get a 2.5% interest rate. And today it's like depending on the situation, there's really no cost, in origination or points. You just, for like a 15, whatever, what I'm saying? For kind of the same scenario, it wouldn't have cost me as much or anything to get that same rate today than I did back in, I think it was 2015. Yeah.
And
It's insane.
I think it's a good market right now. I think it's competitive, but that's okay. From some of the stats I was reading that came out from the MLS from July, they're saying that sellers are recognizing that now's a good time to sell if you're thinking about selling your house in the next year and you see that the demand is so high, let's go ahead and put it on the market now. Everyone's kind of getting more comfortable with like the COVID world that we're living in.
Right.
And I think the agents have done a really good job of adapting how they're showing houses, how they're marketing houses, so that you're getting the most qualified people in there in the shortest amount of time. So people are starting to feel more comfortable with going on the market. So they're saying that they've seen an uptick on homes that are starting to list. We're still need inventory. Don't mistake that. But
right.
But I think, like you're saying, the rates are so low. It just, if you're gonna make a real estate, if you're gonna make a decision in the next year and you're maybe putting it off, I think today in this market, right?
Right, absolutely. Well, it's not going to cost the seller anything up front to be like, all right, well, you know what? Let me see what we can potentially get for this. What kind of demand? You know what I'm saying? And then they'll know, because like I said, there's no cost to them. So
absolutely,
if they're thinking about it, they definitely should get with someone like yourself.
Yeah. And then, if you're thinking about buying a house, I always tell people, I'm like, if you ever have the thought that you are going to buy a house or you want to buy a house, but maybe you think that you can't do it today, or you're like, I'll wait for 6 months, or whatever the case may be. I always tell people, I don't really care what kind of notion you have in your head, because 9 times out of 10, it's probably misinformation.
Right.
They need to call you. They need to get with Angelo, understand how to set themselves up for success. Maybe people can afford to buy a house today, right?
Yeah,
and it's not as hard as they think.
Yeah, a lot of them, a lot of my clients don't. They're like, well, I can only, afford. Well, it's the difference between affording and getting approved. You know what I'm saying? I definitely don't want to make anybody, payment strapped or house poor. But a lot of people think it's, they can't get a lot for their money, but they can. We just have to look into it. It's a 20-minute loan application process, and then we hit the ground running, and usually we can have an answer within 24 hours.
Yeah.
Probably less than that, depending on workload.
Yeah. And when you have this team, both myself and Angelo, he always gets our stuff done.
That's right.
Lickety split.
We ain't messing around.
Yeah.
Messing around.
So,
oh, sorry about that. Let me silence that. Yeah.
But if anyone has any questions, as always, please send them to us. We will be happy to discuss on next week's Tuesday Talks.
Yeah, Tuesday Talks.
You can email me, you can email Angelo, you can DM either one of us. I'll put all of our contact info in the notes for this episode. And make sure you're following us on all the social media platforms. And I'll put all of our info up so that, you can reach out to us. And of course, it's anonymous.
Right. Even if you're asking for a friend.
That's right. That is right.
So, well, cool. This was fun. My battery's now.
Yeah.
My battery's now getting low.
Well, let's wrap her up.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Definitely reach out to Ashley. 1,000% if you're looking to purchase, looking to sell.
And then him for all stuff home loans.
Stuff mortgage. So thanks so much for joining, guys.
Thanks everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.